It was an add-on product to my existing range. And the reason it did so well on email in my tests is exactly that reason. It makes perfect sense now I look back on it. So valuable to look back on these experiences and record it and make notes of it and really analyze what happened. Are you a product-based business, maybe handmade or importing? I do both. I'm spending my own cash advertising on Facebook and Instagram to help grow my 2 Shopify stores from scratch that I started in 2020. So join me in this diary type podcast where I share real-time challenges and wins as things happen day to day in real time, because we often feel less alone in our e-commerce journey when sharing the challenges with someone else. If you're just starting out or growing your small online business, I think you'll find my experiences motivational as I share from my kitchen table in Adelaide, Australia. Brought to you by one of my e-commerce shops, theturtlejournal.com.au. Hey, this is Aussie e-commerce mum, a diary. Welcome, my name is Rachel. This is episode number 28, which is actually an updated episode from my episode 8, which was called Christmas Inventory Disaster. I wanted to do an updated episode from my episode 8 to let you all know how Christmas went and what happened after the inventory disaster I had in early September. So I encourage you to go back and listen to episode 8 to hear the story of where this story started. Because in that episode I talk about how I done my first ever inventory forecast for Christmas 2022, and I'd invested heavily in one order of Christmas stock ready to add to my current stock for Christmas to sell. But a lot of it, when it arrived, was faulty. A lot of it was factory seconds. I was really disappointed the seller, my supplier, didn't come to the party to rectify it, and I'd sort of estimated I was going to be down about $900 in profit from this one purchase of inventory. So I talk about that in episode 8. But then I also talk about the valuable lesson I had at the end of all of that, which was that I really needed to back myself more going into 2023 and try a different supplier that I'd heard and seen was probably had a better reputation, but their MOQ was higher, which is why I had not purchased from them before. And I needed to take the plunge and do so. I had felt like I'd backed myself a bit, even just with this Christmas inventory purchase in early September, ready for Christmas, in buying a big amount of stock at once and doing a forecast and adding a bit of a percentage more on what I'd sold last year and what I thought I would sell this year. And then for that stock to rock up and be faulty, I was just doubly disappointed that it was not going to pan out well for Christmas 2022. That was pretty demoralising, but I knew that it was the push I needed as well. I needed to find the silver lining in the clouds there and see that I needed to branch out more and try a different supplier that I knew was probably going to be more reliable and better, but just required more of an investment from me up front. So anyway, go back and have a listen. This episode, number 28, is an update on how things have panned out over Christmas. I want to let you know what's happened. I really enjoyed putting this episode together to dissect a bit for myself what's happened and how the last few months have panned out. So I'd expected from this stock that I was going to sell to probably get about $4,000 in revenue. So that wasn't total revenue for Christmas I was expecting, but the revenue I'd calculated from this order of stock, where a lot of it had rocked up faulty. I had expected that to net about $4,000 in sales over Christmas and Boxing Day. My plan originally was to hold the factory second stock till Boxing Day and not kind of muddy up my existing products with the factory second stock and hold that just for a Boxing Day sale. That's what I had planned to do, and I talk about in episode 8. What actually happened at the end of Christmas, so the period I'm talking about here in this episode is mid-September to mid-December. Really mid-December is in like the 10th of December, the 11th of December. I'd pretty well closed off Christmas delivery around the 10th, 11th and 12th. Anything after that I wasn't guaranteeing anyone to get their products in time for Christmas. So the period I'm really talking about in this episode is just mid-September through to mid-December. What actually happened was this stock specifically, I had a revenue of $2,900. So $1,000 less, unfortunately, than what I had hoped for. Just from this one, I'd isolated, like I said, this particular order with my supplier. I'd isolated that and calculated about $4,000 in revenue and ended up with $2,800 in revenue. The bonus though is I still have some of that stock. So I was able to move all the faulty stock, all the factory second stock, but I do still have some stock, some great stock, good stock that's sitting on my shelf ready for 2023. So I'm actually not worried that I'm down $1,000 on what I had hoped for. A huge positive for me over Christmas in 2022, and why I'm not really worried or upset about not moving all that stock that I'd hoped, is because my overall sales over the Christmas selling period was $12,370 for this website. So I have a couple of websites I've run, which I've talked about before, but this one website, my revenue total was $12,370. I was really pleased with that. I felt like it was a lot, as when you're busy and you're caught up with orders and packing and customer, tracking numbers and queries and all sorts of stuff and social media. Often it's, we're way too busy to be thinking about it at the time. But now this is a great opportunity, and particularly for you if you have your own website, to go back now, if you haven't already, and check out your own Christmas data and your own Christmas sales and statistics to see for yourself how things went. And if what you think in your head happened really did happen. Like sometimes we think things went terribly, and then when we look, actually they really didn't. And other times we think maybe something went really well, but perhaps we overinflated that, and when we look at the data, perhaps not so much. So I was really happy at the end of this period to see that my revenue was up 9% on Christmas 2021. So that was pretty cool. In addition, the number of orders, or the volume of orders that I processed and shipped, was down by 2%. Which seems like a bad statistic, but not at all when I look at my revenue being up by 9%, which basically means my average order value to the same period last year was actually up by 12%. So I was really pleased with that. And I've talked about average order value before. I have a whole episode about it. In episode 18 is about how I increased my average order value by 25%. It's really worth going back and listening to. And I'm just realizing you really just need to listen to my 8 episodes. So go back and listen to episode number 8, 18, and this is now 28. So this might be, I'll have to think of what to do for episode 38 and tie these all together. So episode 18 is about how I increased my average order value by 25%, which ties in really well to the statistics I've had for Christmas just past, where my average order value over the Christmas period for 2022 compared to 2021 was up by 12%. So I was really happy with that. And of course, which I said I've talked before in that episode, I encourage you to go listen, is the reason it's great to have an average order value higher with the volume of orders lower. You're not shipping out as many boxes, you haven't got as many customers to attend to and answer queries, but they're spending more per person. So you're shipping less and packing less and potentially spending less time on those things, but getting a higher revenue, which is all great reasons why increasing your AOV is so worthwhile. So now I just want to tell you about a few things that happened along the way that were different to what I'd planned or mapped out in September from episode 8. Like I said, I had planned to hold the factory second stock until Boxing Day. I didn't want to offer it with my existing products, and I was going to wait because I didn't want it to water down my AOV. I was worried it would, which just from telling you my revenue, my statistics, it didn't at all. So that fear was unfounded and it worked out to be fine, but I was concerned about that. So I was going to hold this factory second stock and specifically do a Boxing Day sale. Well, I didn't do that. I decided partway through all of this Christmas crazy shopping season, I didn't want to hold it till Boxing Day. I reckon I decided this in mid-November, so pretty late in the piece. Mid-November, I decided very last minute to cobble together a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. So I decided to offer for a whole week, maybe it was a bit longer in the end, this factory second stock as my sale item, as my Black Friday special, come get it, limited quantity, Black Friday special, discounted hugely, over 50% off, all the bells and whistles. Like I was chucking everything I could at this stock to move it during Black Friday. It just seemed silly to hold it till Boxing Day when there was already so much traffic coming to my website. I thought I might as well capitalize on that And I was willing to take the risk that it was going to, water down my AOV, but probably increase my conversion rate. I just thought maybe this stuff is not going to pan out the way I imagine anyway. It seemed a sensible thing to do to offer it as a Black Friday sale and move it. And I did. I got rid of all of it. I got rid of all the factory second stock in 1 week during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I was so pleased in the end that I did it, because plenty of my customers who were purchasing gifts and full price items chucked it in as well, because it was a bit of a no-brainer. It was over 50% off. So lots of customers were already purchasing gifts and other products and just thought, wow, this is like, I don't even think too hard about this. Over 50% off, sure, I'll grab one of those as well. So it actually turned out to be really great. I'm so glad that I did do that in the end. In addition to that, the other bonus of deciding to chuck it in with my other stock and just move it, apart from all the traffic that I already had coming to my website that I was paying for through my Facebook ads, which I didn't want to be paying for on Boxing Day, was that I also didn't want to be packing orders on Boxing Day. I wanted to have a holiday. I didn't want to be up, spruiking and selling and trying to get orders packed and out the door on Boxing Day and then the days after up to New Year's. So, that time of the year when you don't want to be doing anything. I thought, why on earth would I wait till Boxing Day? Just try and move it now while I had the chance, while I had someone help me pack. I have a friend's teenage son. He comes to help me pack once a week just for a couple of hours. He was already coming to help me for the next, couple of weeks at this time. I thought, why not utilize his time and get this stuff packed and moved? So that's actually what I did in the end for a couple of reasons. I'm really glad I did. It meant once my Christmas delivery window was closed, I actually got a bit of a break and had a bit of time off. In addition, what else happened along the way, this is a big one, is my Facebook ads tanked. I had a real conundrum early in this, from mid-September all the way through to mid-October. It was pretty well a full month that my Facebook ads were doing terribly. I was really baffled. I love Facebook ads, as you know, and I have a couple of episodes about my love-hate relationship with Facebook, because it is a bit of a love-hate relationship, but fundamentally it gets me traffic, customers and sales, visibility. Like I wouldn't do without it. But my campaigns I had set up and strategized and started running from mid-September didn't get any traction for a month. That the cost per purchase was through the roof. The ROAS was terrible then as a result. The click-through rates were all good, so it made me think the creative was fine. Something else was amiss though. It took me a month to figure it out. I really had to think about it, and this is something that it's what I want to say about this. It's so important to do it. Like, we are in the problem-solving world as business owners. Troubleshooting things, finding a solution, being creative is like what we're all about. It is what should make us tick. That's how we grow. It's how we learn, and we develop new skills and experiences, and we know what to do different next time and to try and experiment next time. So it's all so critical to our success and our mindset in growing a business. I'm sure of it. So I knew that there was a reason that this was going awry. I knew there was a reason why, because I had run a suite of Facebook ads in July that I'd spent a lot of time on the strategy and the structure, the creative, the plan, the rationale, that did really well. They ran for about 10 weeks very well. I made a lot of money off those. I was so pleased with them. So I knew, what's the word? I knew my skills weren't crap. I knew what I was doing. I've done this for a couple of years now. I knew there was a way to figure it out. I just knew there was. And what it was the offer was no good. Looking back on it now, I can see why, but at the time I couldn't figure it out for about a month. But the product I was pushing on ads wasn't a good enough offer. The reason it wasn't a good enough offer was basically it wasn't one of my best sellers. And I've come to the realization, I think, that most of the time, I'm going to say most because you can never be certain with Facebook ads for sure. It's all an experiment and learning, and the platform changes all the time. But I reckon on the whole, you're best off only running ads on your best sellers, or your best-selling collections, or your flagship product. Something that customers will tie your brand to. They'll see it, they'll know it's you, it makes sense, they'll get to know who you are, and it's like your fundamental offering, your first offering, the product they should buy first from you before anything else. I reckon I've decided and seen from what has happened with my experience over Christmas is that product needs to be the most that you push through Facebook ads. Because the product I was selling through Facebook ads was a bit of an add-on product. It was an add-on product to my existing range. And the reason it did so well on email in my tests is exactly that reason. It makes perfect sense now I look back on it. So valuable to look back on these experiences and record it and make notes of it and really analyze what happened and get into your customers' heads a bit about it. Is that, of course, this product did so well on email. When I'd emailed it and did a pre-launch, and I sold all my pre-launch stock of about 25 units. It wasn't a lot, but I sold it out just on email. I thought that was my proof of concept that I need to add this product to my range, and I have. So then I thought, well, then I should offer it to new customers on ads. Like, they would love it then if my existing customers love it. But they didn't love it at all. And the Facebook ads tanked because of it. Cost me a lot of money early on in the Christmas season for basically a month from mid-September to mid-October. Was that they didn't love it because the offer was no good, because the product was brand new, but it was a bit of an ancillary product. It needed kind of to go with something else I already sell. So if brand new customers saw it, they weren't as inclined to want it or think they need it or love it if they were a brand new customer, because they needed probably to purchase something else first, and then they would see this product through email after the fact, and it would help increase my lifetime order value, and they would come back and become a repeat customer from buying this product. So that was a massive, massive learning for me. That chewed up a lot of my brain power, a lot of money, and a lot of time for about a month to work out what on earth was going on. And you know what, then as soon as I changed up the offer and I switched it back to a product I'd offered in Christmas 2021 with new ads, new creative, a new video, new image, new carousel, things went great. So then my ads did really well. I was so pleased. Everything looked like it was ticking along really well after that. And that was the reason. It was that the product itself was just a mismatch. It didn't make sense. It wasn't an obvious purchase for a first-time buyer. So I hope that helpful a bit. I hope that helps one of you maybe, or somebody listening, to think that that's a bit of an eye-opener as well, or gives you the impetus to go back into your ads manager and do a bit of digging for yourself and ascertain what might have happened with your ads over Christmas if you run ads, or if you don't run ads, just what happened with your sales in general at markets or in person or on Etsy or however you sell on your website and your family and friends, to see if you can pull apart and make a bit of an interesting case study or dissect things for yourself to get some data from it, some learnings, and a bit of a strategy maybe for next Christmas. So that was something massive, and then things picked up really well, and then I was ticking along fine with my ads. They made perfect sense. Things were going really well after that, which was great. But then, of course, they only did well for a certain period of time because it took me a month to work this out. So from sort of mid-ish to late October through to early December, things were great. So you know what, in summary, I would probably say that this crappy stock actually did work out really well for me in the end. I'm not unhappy at all with where I am at the other side of Christmas now in the start of 2023. I'm glad I moved it during Black Friday and that I didn't hold it for Boxing Day. My sales in general were really great over Christmas. I'm glad I just discounted it massively, over 50%, to get rid of that terrible stock. I'm glad I worked out the Facebook ads puzzle, and then I went back and tried again and did some more experiments, and things went really well after that, and my revenue was great, and I can see the results of that now, so I'm really happy. But then I also looked at my email, and something interesting popped out to me was that in this time period I made $530 off of 2 emails I sent, and they were probably my Black Friday emails about this factory second stock. 2 emails netted me $530. And at the time I was just busy doing, packing orders and sending emails and doing socials and, all the stuff you do at Christmas time. And now looking back, and I'm like, why did I only send 2 emails? Oh my goodness, if I made $530 from 2 emails, I should have sent far more than 2 emails. So that was a bit of an interesting learning that I will remember now for next time. that Christmas 2023, I probably need to be more strategic with my emails and send more over a longer period of time, clearly. Moving towards profitability now, the other side of Christmas. Christmas was great for me. Was very happy. And now I need to move this business into a profitability mode, not just a good revenue and then also spending as much in expenses to match that revenue. I really want to work towards actual profitability in 2023. And to help me move in a profitability direction, I've been following the Profit First model, which is a book by Mike Michalowicz. I've been reading that and I've set up my different accounts that I've been using allocation percentages for. It's a whole thing. It's a very popular cash management or cash flow management system. And I've adjusted the percentages a bit to make more sense for me and my business. But I've been really pleased with how I've been practicing that and trying to implement it and get better at it over probably the last 6 months. And particularly over Christmas, it has meant over Christmas I was able to really pull out and keep for my family and for my household a couple of $1,000s in profit over Christmas. I was so happy with that as a bit of a good end to wrap up 2022 and sort of mitigate against the inventory disaster that was the catalyst for this whole episode. So with some high level stats, I just want to let you know how things went for me for this website over Christmas. So the Christmas mid-September period through to mid-December, my total revenue was $12,370. Out of that, I calculated that my cost of goods is 40%, and maybe 40% is a bit too high a percentage to lean on cost of goods. So that's possibly true. I'd probably rather have it too high at the moment while I'm getting used to using Profit First and the model and the pattern and the habits of it. But at 40%, that means my real revenue is 40% less. So cost of goods sold is $4,948, which leaves me with a real revenue of $7,422 over Christmas. My Facebook ads cost me $3,064. And then there's all the other fees involved with helping me pack and tax and Shopify fees and PayPal and stuff like that. I think the profit at the end of all of that for my family, including my owner's pay or a bit of a salary and wage for myself in running the business, was probably about $3,000, somewhere around there over this time period. So I was really, really pleased with, because if I hadn't been following Profit First, or hadn't been deliberate in tracking these numbers and looking at them, I would have spent that easy on other stuff. It just gets evaporated, doesn't it? Our expenses just outweigh our income so easily, and it has for me for 2 years. So I am working very hard to try and make that not be the case. And so in this case, I was really pleased to be deliberate with my percentages, and the budget I allowed each part of my business to consume was very constricted, and I was really disciplined about it. Is that I was able to then keep aside about $3,000 in profit. So I was really pleased with that. So all of these data and these metrics and the way you can pull apart your own Christmas selling season, most of it you should be able to find through your Shopify dashboard, Ads Manager, and whatever email software you are using. And it's just so worth doing. It really is. It's a lot of time. I'm not going to lie. This episode took me a lot of time to pull all this data and put it together. But what you learn from it, the insights you gather, that only you can do. You are the owner, the CEO. You are it. You are the captain of your ship. It is only you that can do this sort of work. This is the sort of work that is real strategy, mindset, brain heavy type dissecting sciencey stuff. It's so important to spend the time doing this, to kind of, like I said before, to actually see what happened versus what you maybe think happened or imagine happened or worried would happen, and then actually what did happen. So I just would really encourage you to spend the time to look back over the period of Christmas time, or another period as well. As long as you're comparing like periods to like periods in your business, maybe you look at Easter, 1 year versus the other, or if you've been doing this less than a year, look at 1 month versus the other month. If you're not selling a seasonal product like Christmas decorations, then don't look at December versus March. But if it's sort of something that rolls around pretty consistently through the year, like candles and soaps and jewelry and so many things, they're just the things that I like, so it just pops to mind. You can probably compare month to month fairly confidently, but Check for yourself in Shopify, Ads Manager, and your email system. See what data you can pull. Oh, send me an email. I would so love to hear from you if you find something interesting, your statistics. Like, honestly, reach out and send me an email. I'd love to hear something interesting you have found over Christmas for your selling in person or online, with ads, without ads, on a marketplace, not a marketplace, whatever you do, however you sell. Like, let me know. I'd be so interested to hear from you. It'd be really, really cool. And then celebrate something. Find a statistic and celebrate it. In my episode 11, I talk about ways to celebrate things and why it's important to celebrate, particularly if you're doing this on your own. I'm totally building these websites on my own. I feel like a bit of an island sometimes. I don't have anybody in my everyday life that I talk to about this or that gets it or is doing the same thing as I do. So it can be pretty lonely. I've recently joined a mastermind or an inner circle, like a membership group, and it's been so worthwhile. I've only been doing it for a few months, so I'll have to report back on that as time goes on. It's taken me 2 years to take the plunge to spend that money every month in a membership, but I've found it invaluable so far. And totally just the accountability of spending money on something like that makes you want to get value out of it. When you spend money, like when you spend money on a new software or an add-on for your website, you kind of get a bit obsessive about it because you want it to be worth its while and it needs to pull its weight financially. So the membership I have joined has totally been really great for me in the last couple of months. And I'll totally talk about more about that as time goes on for sure. But for this episode, see what you can find out from your Christmas season, what stats you can find, what learnings you've got, what cool little insights, like the little nugget I found about the 2 emails I sent that got me over $530 in revenue was the flooring. I fell off my chair when I looked. I couldn't believe it. And then I was kicking myself that I didn't send more emails. So it's so interesting to see what you find, and let me know. I would so love to hear from you. It'd be really cool. You can find me at aussieecommercemum.com.au, where you'll be able to see my previous episodes, and sometimes if I have little resources, I'll add a PDF download to there as well. And of course, you can send me an email through there too. That'd be really cool. So I'll see you next time. Keep learning.